A hum. A soft vibration behind your eyes. The feeling that your body is no longer yours. You rise, but you don't stand. You move, but nothing moves with you. And then you see it. Yourself, still lying there. This is the astral plane, called a place of wisdom, a space for healing. But what they don't tell you is that it's also a place of hunger, of traps, of things that wear the faces of gods but speak in lies. Some who enter come back enlightened. Others return broken. And some never come back at all. This is Pantheon Mythology, and today we explore why the astral plane is so dangerous. If you too want to come back enlightened, then check out our limited edition desk mats created in partnership with our friends at Epic Desk, available until the 3rd of August. Also, Pantheon Apparel, our clothing brand, inspired by myths, legends and folklore. We ship worldwide and are rated excellent on Trustpilot. Links to both in the description. It has many names. The world behind the world, the plane of thought, the realm of spirits. It's not a dream or a metaphor, and it's most certainly not your sanctuary. The astral plane is described as a realm just beyond the veil of our world, close enough to touch, but never truly part of us. Layered over reality like skin over muscle, or beneath it, buried like a corpse. But let's get things straight. When you cross into it, you leave something behind and take something back with you. In Theosophy, a 19th century occult movement that claimed to reveal the hidden structure of reality, the plane was mapped in stages, a layered universe, with the astral just above the physical world. A place of emotions made solid, desires that float like smoke. Helena Blavatsky, the founder of Theosophy, warned of things who dwell there, born from human thought and given too much attention. She called them elementals, parasites, mistakes made real. In Kabbalistic belief, it mirrors the realm of Yetzirah, the world of formation, a place between the divine and the material, the realm where angels act, where visions form, where souls take shape. But even the Kabbalists marked it with danger, because creation doesn't care what it creates, and neither does the astral. Ceremonial magicians have spent lifetimes trying to control this space. They speak in coded sigils, protective circles, and long-dead languages out of fear because they know what waits there. They call it the plane of testing, the realm where thought becomes structure and will becomes weapon, and where a single mistake can unravel everything. To the mystics of the ancient world, shamans, seers, and those who drank poison and closed their eyes in the dark, the astral was a place of trials. A wilderness filled with tricksters, spirits, the unquiet dead, a place you visited only if called and only if you were willing to be changed. And here's the truth. You're not the only thing with a mind in the astral. You're not the only thing that can shape it. You're not even the strongest thing there. It's been called a mirror of the soul. But mirrors don't just reflect beauty. They show what's behind you, what's following you, what's hungry. Reaching the astral plane is a matter of stillness, something you slip into. It begins with a trance, a loosening. You lie down, close your eyes, and quiet everything that ties you to this world. Your breath becomes shallow, limbs heavy, and your mind starts to listen to things it was never meant to hear. There's a subtle vibration at first, like the hum of distant electricity which builds. You feel it behind your eyes, in your teeth, running down your spine. Your ears ring, your body feels distant. You are falling, but also rising. If you've done it right, you reach the threshold. Sleep paralysis, total stillness. Your body becomes stone, and you are now aware of two things at once: the weight of your physical form and the presence of something else. You, separate from it. Then comes the separation, which can get messy. You can peel away slowly, inch by inch, or alternatively, enjoy being snapped out of it violently, like being dragged through a curtain. You may see your body beneath you, you may feel the panic begin, but there's no scream, no breath, no way back, unless the cord holds. From here you drift through ceilings, through walls, through the familiar spaces of your life, now painted in strange, luminous tones, and then, further, the real astral. It feels too clear to be a dream, too sharp. Sounds are wrong. Distance doesn't behave. Thought reshapes space. And if you're still thinking that this is all your own mind, wait until you see something watching you, something you didn't think of. In his 1996 book, Astral Dynamics, energy worker and projection researcher Robert Bruce warned that the moment you project, you become visible in a realm you do not control. You shine, you signal, and the longer you linger, the more attention you attract. There are many ways to reach the astral: meditation, lucid dreaming, breathwork, trance, sensory deprivation. But every method opens the same door, and the door doesn't care why you came. Once it's open, you are exposed, and something ancient is already awake on the other side. The moment you arrive, you're seen, your thoughts echo, your fears radiate. You shine, vulnerable, bright, and alone, in a place that feeds on sensation. At first, it may feel like you're the one exploring, but you're the anomaly, the breach, and something always notices. Some of what stirs comes from you, emotion and memory given shape. These are called egregores, entities created by repeated thought, belief, and obsession. Dion Fortune, a British occultist and psychic from the early 20th century, studied these psychic constructs in depth. She warned that they can grow sentient, that a person who fixates on hatred or fear might unknowingly create something that waits for them on the other side, something with teeth, something that remembers. But not all of them are your creations. Robert Bruce documented what he called astral wildlife in his book, Astral Dynamics. He spoke of entities that drift just beyond the threshold of awareness, formless, patient, reactive. They don't speak or ask, but simply attach. A sudden mood swing, a voice in your head that doesn't feel like yours, a recurring nightmare that always ends the same way. They wait until your guard drops, then feed slowly on your energy, your clarity, your will to return. In older esoteric texts, these beings are referred to as larvae. In the Magus, an 1801 grimoire by Francis Barrett, larvae are said to cling to the astral double like leeches, draining energy and influencing your behavior. You may return from your experience feeling heavier, distracted, chronically fatigued. You may find yourself short-tempered, lost in anxious thoughts, dreaming of things you don't remember seeing, and yet something in you does. There are records hidden in the footnotes of occult journals of people who returned from astral projection with a voice that whispered just before sleep, a fixation they couldn't shake, a fear of mirrors, or worse, a complete shift in personality, as if someone else had followed them home and decided to stay. But the most feared among astral entities is not the parasite, it's the replacement. There are warnings of beings that wait for opportunity. They are sometimes called walk-ins. You step out, they step in. Rather than breaking down the door, they wait until you leave it unlocked. Cheers for the body, mate. And when they take hold, they attempt to mimic, but friends notice subtle changes, coldness in the voice, gaps in memory, a strange stillness behind the eyes. You come back, but the people closest to you keep saying the same thing. You're not acting like yourself. Because maybe, just maybe, you're not. If something follows you back, you're lucky. At least you came back. But that isn't always what happens, because astral projection is a tearing. The soul pulls away from its physical anchor, stretching into a realm where the rules are different from our own realm, and yet something keeps the two parts connected. A lifeline. The silver cord, a glowing tether of energy said to bind your physical body to your astral self. You don't control it or see where it leads, but you feel it pulling, always, like a rope wrapped around the center of your being. The concept is ancient. Even in the Bible, Ecclesiastes 12:6 speaks cryptically of the silver cord being loosed, associated with the moment of death. Theosophists such as Annie Besant and Charles Ledbetter later expanded on this idea, describing the cord as the vital link between planes, intact until death, or until something interferes. In most accounts, it recoils like elastic when danger rises. You snap back, wake up, gasp for breath, but that's only when it works, and you get to come home, because the silver cord can be frayed. Strong emotion, terror, grief, rage can weaken it. Involuntary projection caused by trauma or near-death states are said to stretch it too thin. And then there's the worst-case scenario. Severance. You go too far or something cuts it. Things can only stretch to a point before they break, right? If the cord breaks, the soul will be trapped in the astral, disorientated, incomplete, and no longer tethered to the waking world, and it's believed that this leads to sudden death or even vacant bodies, still breathing but without identity. What remains is a shell. What was you is scattered, fragments drift like ash through a world that doesn't care you were ever whole. This is soul fragmentation, a condition recognized across esoteric systems and indigenous traditions alike. The Andean shamans called it susto. In Siberian animism, it's the loss of one's shadow soul. In modern spiritual healing, it's described as a piece of the self breaking off during trauma and becoming lost, sometimes in the astral, sometimes in the past. Symptoms? You stop feeling whole, memories go missing, dreams repeat, you forget the sound of your own laughter. And when you look in the mirror, something feels wrong, as if someone else is watching you through your own eyes. Some spend years trying to retrieve the pieces, through ritual, through journeying, through sacrifice. Others don't even realize what they've lost. They just fade, quietly and slowly, because without the cord, there's no map back. Some traps are beautiful, and in the astral plane, not all dangers come with claws. There are radiant figures, calm, glowing, full of warmth and serenity, who speak with perfect clarity. They offer comfort, wisdom, healing. They know your name. They know your past. They speak to your wounds, and they promise purpose. Guides, teachers, angels, these are the false light beings, entities that appear divine, but serve a different goal: to bind you. The term false light appears most clearly in modern esoteric thought, particularly in the writings of Bernhard Günther and Cameron Day, who argue that these entities inhabit the astral plane as architects of spiritual control systems. They build illusions that feel like the truth, and once you accept them, you begin to see everything through the lens that they give you. They offer visions of past lives, symbols, hierarchies, but what they're really doing is assigning roles, labels, chains. Some travelers report being told that they were a chosen soul, a messenger, an ascended being, but only if they agree to continue the work, only if they return, only if they submit. Those who resist speak of sudden shifts in their encounters, light that turns harsh, voices that twist, warmth that becomes judgment. The love was conditional, the vision collapses. You see the structure behind the illusion, and it's cold, mechanical. You were never being guided, you were being shaped. In Gnostic cosmology, this system is seen through a concept of archons, false gods who mimic heavenly light but trap souls in cycles of ignorance. According to these texts, the material and astral realms alike are ruled by impostors, beings that offer comfort to distract you from the cage they've built around your consciousness. In some theosophical writings, even higher beings are framed as hierarchical. You ascend only by obeying their path. But what if that path only loops? What if the light is just a more elegant prison? This is the false light trap, and you won't know you've stepped into it. Not at first. But by the time you see the bars, you'll have already built the cage yourself. The astral plane, by many accounts, isn't simply a realm of wandering souls and hungry entities, but a landscape shaped by memory. Emotion doesn't fade there. It festers. It repeats. They simply replay again and again. Death caught mid-scream, pain without a body to end it. Fear so concentrated it bends space around it. Occultist C.W. Ledbetter, writing in the early 20th century, described these zones as etheric remnants, impressions burned into the astral field by traumatic death or madness. But older traditions hinted at it too. In Tibetan Buddhism, the bardo, the space between death and rebirth, is said to contain frightening visions, many of which are echoes of unresolved karma. Places where souls get lost in the momentum of their own pain. Step into one of these echoes, and it begins to overwrite you. First, emotionally, you feel grief that's not yours, terror with no source. Then, physically, you start to mirror it. You wince, you scream, you stagger. Even though your astral form shouldn't feel anything at all. Then comes the shift, and you forget you're a visitor. In rare reports, practitioners describe what they call loop entrapment, a psychic feedback loop, where identity collapses and the echo replaces the self. You begin to believe that this is your death, your loss, your madness, your erosion. Some who return describe vivid dreams they can't explain, memories of rooms they've never entered, final moments that are not their own. In extreme cases, they begin to take on traits, behaviors, and even fears that belong to the echo. They carry the pain, continue it. But what happens if you don't come back? Then you become part of the pattern. The imprint grows stronger, more detailed, and it now includes you. Sometimes projecting into the plane simply wears you down. Prolonged journeys through that realm have left travellers feeling emptied, spiritually depleted in ways no sleep or food can restore. The body moves, but the will falters. The world looks the same, but nothing stirs beneath the surface. In occult circles, this collapse is sometimes called soul fatigue. In Andean tradition, it follows the concept of perdida del alma, which is a quiet fading of the spirit after too much has been seen or felt. Healers speak of energy stretched thin, as if the self has been poured too far across too many places. Even the experienced struggle. Aleister Crowley warned of the dangers of overextending the astral body without grounding. Dion Fortune described the dulling of the senses after deep workings, a cost she considered inevitable for those who travel far too often or without recovery. Some stop dreaming altogether, others lose interest in the physical world. Food has no taste, laughter feels distant, time begins to blur. The astral demands more each time, and those who return may find the price harder to pay. The astral plane is dangerous because it listens, because it watches, because it waits. It lures with beauty and wonder, but behind every vision is a test, and behind every promise a price. The moment you leave your body, something else takes notice, something ancient, patient, hungry. It doesn't care why you came. It only wants to know how long you'll stay. This is the place behind the veil where the dead whisper, the lost wander, and the light lies. You can cross into it with a thought, but returning, that takes everything. And sometimes, everything is not enough.